Oh, my loves. So I'm picking up on a very specific energy. There is a feeling of overwhelm, angst, anxiety, and it's very clear that this overwhelm and anxiety is feeling connected to a loss of control, but it's via a lack of boundaries. So my sense is that there's multiple layers that might be happening here in the sense that there's a part of the collective that has just went through a massive expansion. And through that expansion, it's sort of like the container that you were working in has grown significantly because you were ready to graduate. Like you outgrew the old container, so you needed this to happen. But what it's actually opening up and revealing is not only more a new space, but it's sort of revealing the places and spaces where you're needing or wanting to embody deeper boundaries and deeper standards for yourself in a new way. And you may be someone who's already been enacting standards and boundaries for yourself in ways that you've never done before. It's not necessarily that you've done something wrong, it's that you've opened up more space, more energy, more of your subconscious so that you can access more of your energy and embody more deeply into yourself and onto the planet so that you can continue to ascend and evolve and grow and build in your new foundation in the new ways. So, if this is resonating with you so far, it's looking at it and sort of going into it in the ways that you have learned how to do it before. So if these anxieties or anxiousness or overwhelm is coming up again for you and in a way that maybe you haven't experienced in a while, you can start to focus on breathing and intending to bring your energy back home to your body or into the energy where you're feeling overwhelmed. It's like bringing your present in the present, right? And if you're feeling like things are pulling on you or you're being called in a lot of directions, and you're sort of, it was this sense of feeling like kind of getting everyone else's voice out of your head so that you can hear your own, like the clarity, right? So I'm also feeling that there is another portion of the collective that actually hasn't necessarily had the standards and boundaries in the way that they're being called to. So these feelings of anxiousness and overwhelm may be very significantly amplified. I'm also sensing that this is occurring because there is a portion of the collective that is no longer willing to hold up or process the energies for other people anymore. And since the part of the collective is no longer doing that, that energy is now being redirected back to where it belonged, back to the origin, back to the people, places, or things that are calling to be required to process their own energy, their own emotions, and taking responsibility for their own processes. It's changing all of the dynamics. And this is occurring on a pretty big scale. And we're seeing a lot of these dynamic shifts happening on a collective level. Okay. So, for those of you who have been connected here with me or even over on my Patreon, there are a lot of you who have been deep into this processing work that are no longer willing to process and hold up things for other people. And that is actually opening up the space for you to access more of your own energy where you were holding it for others. And that's part of why the container is opening and opening up new places and spaces for you to again embody into yourself. And as you're retrieving your space and your focus and your time and your energy for yourself, which is a beautiful thing because now you have the resources to focus on being personally responsible for what it is that you want to create. And then you are freeing up the other people who you were once carrying things for who begin to take a deeper responsibility for their own energy and their own focus and their own time so that they can actually also learn how to create and build what it is that they actually want. So it's sort of like this domino effect in the other direction, where in the older ways of doing things in the codependent dynamics, we were often taking on things for other people so that they could focus on things. But usually they were taking on things for other people. And it was sort of this domino effect of not taking personal responsibility and sort of using our energy to focus on helping everybody else. The people we were helping, instead of focusing on helping themselves, were focusing on helping other people. And you see where this is going, right? But if we take it and we focus on ourselves and stabilize into the present, and we focus on taking personal responsibility for ourselves, right? It actually creates a momentum shift in the other direction because whoever we were holding it up for, now they're kind of double loaded because they have to deal with their own stuff and all the extra. But it's also a perfect opportunity for that wave to start learning how to focus on themselves and take personal responsibility and not taking on other people's stuff. And then you see that other wave, same thing, right? And then if you have people in general who were not taking any responsibility or helping anyone, are kind of going to be left to their own devices to sort it out and become more self-empowered to figure things out for themselves. And this is having a massive shift in how we're functioning, how we're doing things. So if you're finding yourself no longer willing to hold up things for other people, this could be people that you care about, your relationship, your family, your job, right? Your whatever it is, anywhere you're focused back to the present with yourself and what is your responsibility, it's actually changing the dynamics of how our society is running, right? So it's one of those ways where you, as your own sovereign being, can choose how you focus your energy, how you participate in your life, what you choose to participate in, right? And when you let go of what you were holding up, it does open up those places and spaces where you weren't taking care of your own energy, right? But as now you have those places and spaces opening, you can clean those up, reclaim them for yourself, and now you have that space to create and build and grow not just for yourself, but in the ways that you actually want to work with and support and share in the world, right? So now you can share your gifts and talents and abilities in a way that is not draining, right? Not suffocating, where you're not being pulled on, but in a way where you're actually taking care of yourself and in your energy and so now you can come from the overflowing cup, right? In my sense is that probably those of you who have found this video will understand what I'm saying. And most likely you've already gone through a version of this. And now what you're doing is taking that skill set, taking what you've learned, and you are expanding upon it, which is beautiful. This is growth, right? This is progress. It's progress over perfection. And it's giving yourself the space and the grace to actually embody into your next level in a physically manifested way, right? because we can understand these concepts spiritually. We can even speak them and share them, but actually living them and embodying them is the most powerful part of the process, right? Actually becoming the version of ourselves that can hold what we're speaking, what we intellectually and spiritually understand. And I'm sharing that in this way so that you are patient and kind to yourself while you are learning how to embody. Because actually letting yourself go through this process is significantly more powerful than just pretending to know the process, right? And it might look more messy. It might not be perfect. You might have uncomfortable days and uncomfortable feelings, and it's okay. It doesn't mean you've done it wrong. It means that you're brave and courageous enough to face whatever's in front of you to actually embody and get to live the life that you want. You're willing to face whatever was in the way of you having your happiness, right? And happiness, again, it's a state of being that comes from within. It's not really something someone else can provide for you. Yes, they can amplify your happiness by all means. But if it's not something that you're creating and sustaining within yourself, and you're only experiencing it from an external source, well, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for disappointment because it's not anyone else's responsibility to provide you with your happiness or your source of happiness or joy, right? Again, they can amplify it, absolutely. But the minute that you place your happiness on another person or another thing externally, like I said, you're kind of setting yourself up for the fall, right? So this is about finding that happiness inside of you, your home, inside of your body, inside of your heart. Your physical body is your home, right? And when you take care of your body, when you take care of your emotions, when you take care of your mental, emotional wellness and your spiritual well being, now you have a strong foundation to focus on your purpose, your career, your finances, the environment, the structural home that you live in that's on your ultimate home of earth, right? So, this call to be present and focused within ourselves is not selfish. In fact, it's the most selfful thing you can do in the sense that when you care for yourself, when you are responsible for yourself, when you embody into your standards via healthy boundaries for yourself on your energy, on your time, on your focus, right? Where you place your boundaries will actually allow you to concentrate your essence and actually get more done that's actually in alignment with what you truly want versus sort of letting that energy spill out in 50 directions and in all being pulled in all of these directions that aren't actually getting you where you want to go. But if you can shore that up, clean those up, refocus back to yourself and back to the present as you shore up your own holes, right? You build your energy, you're flowing, your happiness is flowing. Now you're starting to generate an energetic overflow instead of overwhelm. And from that overflowing essence, that overflowing cup, now you can start to share with other people, right? In a way that is healthy for you and healthy for them. This is not about you doing it for them. It might be you simply sharing ideas or perspectives or skill sets to help them do it for themselves. Or potentially you have a talent and a skill set that they want to pay you for or exchange for because it's a skill set that you're very talented at, right? And now they can, pay you or barter with you or exchange with you if they have a good or service that is supportive for you. You get what I mean? So there's lots of ways that we can continue to build interdependent relationships and connections and being sovereign in our independence in a way that is not coming from wounding actually allows for a solid foundation of interdependent connections, again, which allow us to enjoy other people's talents and abilities and skill sets and X, Y, and Z, right? And this feels important because if you are in a state of overwhelm or uncertainty and you need support, by all means, get that for yourself, right? I spoke about this in another video recently where I said sometimes independence and interdependence and codependence can get confused. Right. And there is very much a difference between codependence and interdependence, right? When you're in the energy of codependence, it's sort of like what I talked about at the beginning. It's where one person is sort of in a rescue mode of the other person, and the other person is looking to be rescued versus taking personal responsibility for their part. Okay. In a situation of interdependence, what you're going to discover is you have a person that is taking responsibility and working on themselves and working to improve whatever it is that they're needing support with or help with, right? But they're kind of like they got their hands in there and they're doing the work. They're doing what they can. They may reach a point where they actually require assistance and support from someone else and they're willing to exchange for it or pay for it or barter for it. Or it might be a situation where someone has that skill set and they see this person is working their tail off and they want to come in and support their process, right? And that is interdependent connection. That is a completely different energy than someone sitting in victim mode, not taking responsibility, not trying to help themselves, just feeling sorry for themselves and sitting back and waiting for someone else to rescue them. That is a totally and completely different energy. And I will acknowledge very swiftly, yes, we have circumstances where someone is a victim and they are in need of rescuing and a savior, right? Like, think about it. Someone could be in a burning house and they have smoke inhalation. They are a victim of the fire and they are in desperate need of a rescuer, like a firefighter, to come in and rescue them, right? And be the savior of their life. That is an appropriate victim savior dynamic. You see what I'm saying? Like that's a legitimate life threatening experience. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking, and I know you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the day-to-day circumstances where people are perfectly physically, emotionally, and mentally capable of taking a step forward to support themselves and they're choosing not to, right? That would create a codependent dynamic if someone steps in and now does it for them, right? When they're perfectly capable of doing it. Okay. They're choosing that. So let them choose it. You refocus back to yourself, right? Now, again, if they're handling their business and taking responsibility and doing what they can and they're needing a boost or a help or a bit of support to kind of go to the next level, by all means, that is an interdependent support to step in and kind of help support that process. Totally and completely different energies. And I feel that interdependent connection and support is a very important part of our process of evolution and ascension and growth here on this planet. Yes, we are sovereign or working to be. Yes, we are independent and wanting to be more independent so that we can grow into all of the gorgeousness of who we are as individuals, correct? And part of that, again, sometimes is receiving support externally. Sometimes it's sharing support externally, but doing it in a way that actually feels good, that isn't overwhelming you in a way that feels draining, right? That isn't pulling on you in a way that's distracting you from your truth or what you want to build in your life, right? But you're building your parts, you're focused on yourself, you're caring for yourself. So now you can support others in different ways, right? Okay. Anyway, I know this got kind of long, but it feels really, really, really important for what we're going through now. It's always been important, right? But it feels like we're at this next precipice point, this next transitionary phase shift. So, for those of you that connect here with me for the masculine and feminine collective, we're absolutely seeing this in the dynamics between the masculine and feminines. But this is also dynamic shifts that we're seeing in society. We're seeing it in family dynamics. We're seeing it in neighborhood dynamics, in work dynamics, right? And it's important because so many things are changing on our planet right now in a very big way, an important way that we can create stability for ourselves, even within a time of a lot of significant change, is by stabilizing back to ourselves, taking personal responsibility, finding what it is that we need to stabilize and support ourselves, right? Just like in the airplane, taking the oxygen first. So then we can, again, if it's called, if it's aligned, help others support with stabilizing themselves by all means, right? So that's it. I'm going to leave it there. I hope it was helpful. Hope it makes sense. If you would like to connect with me, I'm going to put all of my information down in the pinned comment. As always, I would absolutely love to hear from you. I hope that you're enjoying your day or night and that you're caring for yourself in the most beautiful ways. Sending you so much love. Take care.